The light in the cellar. Have you ever wondered how the Light Cellar actually got its name? On this episode of Barefoot Bliss and Divine Wellness, we're going to be having Malcolm Saunders with the Light Cellar to tell us more.
Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Megan Barefoot, your guide to unlocking the secrets to vitality and balance. Join us as we dive into the world of wellness and get one step closer to a more vibrant life on Barefoot Bliss and Divine Wellness. Hi, welcome to Barefoot Bliss and Divine Wellness. I'm Megan Barefoot and this is Robin Devine, and today we are speaking with Malcolm Saunders of the Light Cellar. Be sure to go back to the first episode where we discussed foraging for wellness with Malcolm, and today we're going to talk about the light and the cellar. So Malcolm, tell us a little bit more about the Light Cellar and how it differs from other health food stores.
Yeah, absolutely. So born out of my journey exploring food, nutrition, and just sourcing ingredients, going ever deeper down the rabbit hole, realizing that, a lot of our kind of conventional grocery stores and even the health food stores were kind of missing pieces, missing foods that had, unique, high quality, a genetic, that's different than our average grocery store. In our last episode, we talked about wild foods, and a lot of our wild foods have kind of been bred to make them more palatable, but way less nutrition. And a really good example is the difference between wild lettuce and iceberg lettuce. There's a whole spectrum in between. I was really inspired by wild foods and heirloom foods, and just a diversity, nuts, seeds, sea vegetables, grasses, algae, mushrooms, herbs from all around the world, you name it. So providing that access for people to have like super high quality foods, and then also teaching people how to make it. So we've got a teaching kitchen where we do regular classes, empowering people how to make, sauerkraut, how to ferment, like basic human skills that most of us, myself included, didn't receive growing up and kind of lost in the culture. So reviving that. And then also really big into this approach to food nutrition of like adding in and upgrading. Like I went through so many years of kind of like, denying myself and like willpower and, all the like really kind of forceful with nutrition, making changes. And then this kind of easier approach came. It's like, well, why don't you just like eat what you eat, but just upgrade the quality, like move up the spectrum into higher quality, and then start to add in, these good things, use the unique things that can really make a difference. And that's what I call a superfood. So if we take things like that people really love, like chocolate or, delicious cookies, it's like, let's upgrade the ingredients, let's add in like real wholesome, nourishing foods into those in a form that people are familiar with. They're gonna like recognize and instantly enjoy. But, the chocolate, for instance, got medicinal mushrooms. So this idea of functional nutrition or adding in herbs to what we do and what we offer is what the name of the game is all about. So
I often say if you add chocolate to anything, people will eat it, right?
It's the Trojan horse of good nutrition. Absolutely. No matter what you put inside, it gets past anyone's pearly gates.
So how did we get from those things that we always used to eat, like the heirlooms, the things that we grew in the garden, the things that had higher nutritional density, right, to what is now what everybody seems to eat? Because it's a great thing that we have the Light Cellar in Calgary. We're very lucky. Mm-hmm. But how did we get to a point where we needed to have something like the Light Cellar?
Right. Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think it started with the industrialization of our food system as we tended to scale up. We went, for a higher quantity of food, but unfortunately the quality of the food went down, and just the kind of the diversity of it narrowed as well. Like in industrialization, in commercialization, in commodification of food, it's all about this kind of standardize. And, when industry is kind of, selecting, it's more about, okay, what's going to ship well, what's going to last long, what's going to, present well on the shelf versus, like what actually tastes good or is deeply nutritious. People, I get it, they're so kind of picky at the grocery store, but it's all those little choices along the way, trying to meet the bottom line where, we've come to this point, unfortunately. And I think it's just how humans learn. Like I do this, it's like pendulum swing, like woo, way over here, like, oh, that was kind of wrong, and then way over here. And then eventually we kind of find that middle ground. So.
Well, and I know like we had a little garden, but it was in our backyard, and it was, it was still something. Yeah. But compared to what my mother grew up with, compared to what my grandmother grew up with, like I didn't even know about fermentation until Megan, and you sort of came into my life, and I was like, oh, this is like a whole completely different world, because it wasn't something that was passed down in my family, right?
We had to ferment out of necessity, to store up food. But now, again, industrialization of our food system, we got access to literally any food we want, 24/7, 365, which is an amazing miracle.
Especially in Canada.
Yeah. But, along the way, we've lost a lot of those traditional processes that were essential and still are, but for different reasons. Refrigeration is amazing. I'm not about to give up a fridge, but, so maybe I'm not fermenting for preservation so much per se, but I'm going to focus on it for nutrients, for gut health, for everything else that it brings.
Yeah, beautiful. So you named your store the Light Cellar. I send a lot of my clients and I tell them, you gotta go check out the Light Cellar, and they're like, what is this, a lighting store? Like, where did the name come from? So this episode is called The Light and the Cellar.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about how that came about.
Okay, great. Well, it actually speaks to this idea of, in past, your grandmother would have had a root cellar, right? Like people, they're more connected to the land, raising their food, preparing their food. They had an actual store of food. Whereas today, they say society is like, 3 days away from chaos. In the sense that if supply chain shut down, grocery stores run out, like nobody's got anything, no kind of a buffer. So I wanted
your host.
I wanted to bring that back, that sense of resiliency. But there's so many other reasons and benefits to do that, right? You can buy in bulk, there's savings, so on and so forth. But yeah, so it's the cellar, but then to kind of upgrade the overall kind of image of that, it's like, no, it's bursting with light, which is the source of all food, the source of all nutrition, is the sun, and the kind of that radiance that light foods can bring.
What is your favorite product at the Light Cellar? What do you go back to time and time again? Is it a chocolate?
How do you answer that?
I know, but
oh my God.
I've always wanted to know, and I always forget to ask you.
Well, it changes all the time, in the intuitiveness. I would say herbal teas of some sort are just such a foundation for me. Things like nettles, they've got their own benefit medicinally, but they're ultimately just so nourishing as well.
Right.
Like just, far beyond things like spinach, kale, so on and so forth. And the fact that you can just enjoy it as a tea, adaptogens, things like holy basil.
Holy basil. Drinking it today.
Yeah, for sure. They're just kind of like supportive, like whatever you got going on, there's a herb for that, which you can transform into an elixir. There's an elixir for that. Yeah. You need energy, you need to calm things down, you got, some sort of physiological thing going on, you can really, customize your day.
And that's the cool thing about the Light Cellar. You can go in for products, but while you're there, you can get a tea or an elixir, walk around, look at all the cool products. Yeah. So tell us how we can get a hold of you and where we can find the Light Cellar.
All right, so lightcellar.ca, that's LIGHTCELLAR. We're along the old Main Street of Bowness, down there. So join us in person. We do also have an online store. We can check everything out there as well.
Awesome. So thanks to Malcolm Saunders for joining us again for the Light Cellar, and don't just check out the website and so on. There's tons of classes, there's tons of YouTube videos and stuff like that they create. So definitely go check them out, and follow us next time where we get to talk to Malcolm again. So stay tuned.
As we conclude another enriching episode of Barefoot Bliss and Divine Wellness, remember to embrace that journey towards optimal health with open hearts and minds. I'm Megan Barefoot, urging you to step boldly into your wellness journey. Until we meet again, stay vibrant.